My name is Mira Shah. They had a secret. They thought I was only a low waitress. I stood by the ceremony aisle and watched. The bride smiled in a $1,000 dress. The guests drank champagne and laughed loudly. I served tea and small cakes with a quiet face. They mocked my plain uniform. They said cruel things near the bouquet table. I felt the sting of their words. I kept my head high and did my job with care. I remembered one sharp moment from my past. Why did they feel so free to judge me? I kept a calm look, but inside I planned to change the course of that night. My name is Mira Shah. I work at the city's best hotel. I am a waitress for the wedding reception today. The ceremony ended an hour ago. The bride walked down the aisle with a bright smile. The groom looked proud. Guests sat at long tables. They clinked glasses and gave a loud toast. I carried a tray with small cups. A woman at a corner table saw me. She whispered to her friends. They laughed, so loud I heard. "Look at her dress," the woman said. "She is a hotel girl. She is not one of us." I felt burned by their words. I served them water. I kept my hands steady. I listened when a man made a harsh joke. "Why do they let such people work here?" he asked. I wanted to speak. I wanted to tell them they were wrong. But I did not speak then. I tried to be polite. I smiled and said, "Can I bring more napkins?" A child dropped a plate near the dining table. The man pointed to me and said, "Pick it up, girl." I bent and cleaned the mess quickly. My heart beat fast. I felt small in that room of rich smiles. Later, the bride tossed her bouquet. A guest caught it. They cheered. The same woman waved at the guest and said, "I hope their life is easy now." I felt deep hurt. My hands shook when I cleaned the champagne glasses. I remembered my old life. I remembered a promise I made to myself. I would not break. I would keep my dignity. I would keep my truth hidden for now. I watched the groom make a kind speech. He thanked his family and guests. He did not see everything. He did not see the quiet pain behind my smile. I walked to the kitchen. I stood in the back and breathed. I heard the word objection in a joke among the guests. A man pretended to object to the groom's speech. They laughed again at the same cruel tone. I felt the injustice more and more. I wanted to show them a lesson. I planned nothing mean. I planned quiet, true power. I would not fight with words. I would let time and truth come to the toast. The first part of the night closed with music and dancing. I kept my secret at my chest. The real test would be the reception and the hotel bills. I knew then the night would grow heavy with choices. I have a secret. I did not tell anyone I owned part of this hotel. Long ago I left home. I worked for money and learning. I signed papers and saved small sums. A distant relative left me a share of the hotel when he died. I chose to work as a waitress for a time. I wanted to learn the business and people. I wanted to know who treated help with kindness. Today, I watch those rich guests. I watched the woman who mocked me. I watched the groom's uncle who made rude jokes. I remembered the day I first walked into this hotel as a guest child. Men in suits said I was delicate. Women gave me small smiles. The contrast stung. I moved among the tables with a steady step. I refilled glasses and cleared plates. A guest asked, "Who is the manager?" I pointed to the front. The guest nodded and did not think more. I kept my secret core warm like a small lamp. I had papers that gave me power if I wanted them. I kept them in my bag. I could call the hotel board, and the staff would obey. I could change the booking tonight. But I wanted a better answer. I wanted them to see the truth in a gentle way. At the buffet table, a waiter dropped a silver tray. The man who mocked me laughed and said, "That is your job, girl." I did not answer. My friend, Raj, a young chef, saw my face. He whispered, "You look tense. Are you all right?" I told him, "I am fine. I will wait." The groom's sister stood at the door. She looked nervous. I heard one guest say a quiet word about a past wrong. They spoke of a family lie and a broken vow. The word betrayed floated to my ears. My heart tightened. I walked to the floor where the wedding papers were kept. I touched the folder with my name on it. I thought of my mother and the day she taught me to stay calm. I thought of the time my father told me to forgive people who are cruel. At midnight, the reception became louder. A man gave a long toast. He praised his new family. The same mocking woman raised her glass and laughed. I decided it was time. I would not shout. I would not insult. I would stand for my dignity. I walked toward the manager's office with my steps small and sure. I felt like a quiet storm. I would do something that would open eyes and change the night forever. I would use my truth at the right moment. The evening reached the last toast. The groom rose and spoke gently. He thanked his parents and gave a vow. The bride held his hand and smiled. Guests stood and clapped. Then the manager asked for the head table to stand. I walked in front of the room. My uniform felt small and true on my body. I heard surprised sounds. The woman who mocked me leaned back. I stood by the microphone and asked for a moment. Calm filled the room. I did not shout. I only said, "Tonight I served your tea and your cake. I also signed the hotel contract this year." A quiet gasp moved through the guests. The mocking woman's face went pale. I opened my bag and put the hotel papers on the table. I said, "My name is Mira Shah. I own part of this hotel. I work here because I want to learn and to serve." A man near the door stood up. He said, "This is impossible." The bride covered her mouth. The groom looked shocked and angry. He said, "Why did you not tell us?" I said, "I wanted to see who shows respect to all people. I wanted to see the true heart of my new clients. I did not want to be loved for my name." The mocking woman cried, "You lied to us." I answered gently, "I did not lie. I worked. I did not ask for pity or praise. I only asked for respect." The groom's uncle tried to call the manager. The manager arrived and bowed. He looked at the papers and said, "Miss Shah, these are real." The room grew hot. People whispered the word "shocked" again and again. The groom's father stood and said, "We hired this hotel because of its fame. We did not know the owner would serve our table." The groom looked angry and betrayed. He stood and said, "I object to this tone." He felt small and exposed in front of his guests. The mocking woman now asked for forgiveness in a low voice. She came to my hands and said, "I am sorry. We judged you wrong." I looked into her eyes. I felt no joy in her regret. I felt only a soft calm. I could fire them from the booking. I could cancel their reception and send them away. I felt the old anger for a moment. Then I remembered my promise. I remembered my mother's teaching to use power with care. I offered them a choice instead. I said, "I will not cancel your night. I will let the wedding continue. But I ask one thing. You must promise to treat your staff with respect in the future. No more mockery. No more cruel jokes." The groom's family looked at each other. The bride stepped forward and said, "We promise." The room breathed a slow relief. The toast continued. People clapped in a new tone. The irony was heavy. The guests who had laughed now asked for a photo with me. They wanted to hold the bouquet and stand near me. They wanted to show they had met the owner. I smiled and allowed one photo. I felt the bitter gift of their attention. I felt the quiet dignity of my own choice. After the reveal, the night changed. The bride and groom walked back to their table. The guests spoke in softer voices. I kept serving with steady hands. Some people said sorry again and again. The bride came to me and said, "Thank you for your kindness tonight." I said, "Kindness matters more than status." The groom looked at me and seemed small. He whispered, "I was wrong." I felt sadness for him and the rest. I learned a lesson. Power can be quiet. Dignity is a true kind of strength. I chose not to punish them harshly. I gave them a chance to do better. That was my real answer to the injustice. For you, dear listener, I give a simple truth. Do not judge a person by their clothing or job. Respect the service people at your events. A small act of kindness can change a life. I hope you learn these words and use them. Remember the aisle, the vow, and the warm heart that keeps calm under pain. Truth will come at the right time, and quiet power can bring right change.